I'm Francois from Production Music Live, today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at the style of David Forbes, trance legend. We have a track here modeled after his song Techno is My Only Drug, only using Ableton stock effects and instruments plus Serum as third-party plugin. PML sounds only in this one from the Trance pack, link in the description. And we are using different harmonies, different melodies, different input sounds to remodel this track, learn the rules first so we can break them later for our own purposes and incorporate some of these bass lines or drums or something into our own tracks. So let's have a quick arrangement overview. We have a 4.5 minute long track here with an intro for the club. And then after 8 bars, the basses are coming in. Uh, 143 BPM, very fast. So this is techno here. This can definitely be used for a techno setup, but later it's getting trancey. So first of all, we have a small build-up here. Then we have this sort of Goa type bass line here, and then we are bringing in cymbals and hi-hats and also a bunch of bass stabs. And also after like a minute or so, we are bringing in these arps or leads here. And they're so heavily sidechained that you really don't hear the first one, you always hear the second one on the offbeat position. Okay, so it builds up, we bring in snare rolls and stuff, and then we come into the break. So re-space, and we're slowly winding it down, and now here at this one locator marker we are starting our typical trance arpeggio run. And it builds up, we are layering sounds on top. Then we are bringing in Reese bass lines below it, and then some snare rolls, and then we enter to this little, fake drop part where we have what's called bridge here. It's not really a bridge, but it's a couple of instances of silence, and we sort of fake that this is now going to be a trance drop, but actually it's going to be an acid techno drop. So skipping this part here just to the end where we have some of the snare rolls. Okay, so this is the acid drop here. We are playing that for a bit, and then we're bringing in more hi-hats and a bit more stabs and stuff. And then we are turning it into the outro when the acid synth here, the main synth, is being removed, and we're bringing back a bunch of synth filler sounds that were playing already in the beginning in the in the intro part of the track down here. And then we go into the outro. Yeah, then you can mix into the next track. So super powerful and punchy track. Let's take a look at what these individual groups sound like. So if I solo the drums group, we have super powerful kick here, and then hats on top, and then sometimes we're even playing these claps here. So that's the drums group. The bass group sounds like this in a drop. Is a sub and a rolling bass on top. So this rumble here and a rolling bass on top, and later in the outro. And in our build-up we have a Reese. And here we have another Reese. This one is more impacty. And then the instruments group sounds like this in a break. This is a setup for a state of trance here. Armin van Buuren style. And here we have a setup which is a bit more for techno, Hammerhalle and Sisyphos. And then later we have these saw acid leads. And this is what it sounds like in the outro. And then a bunch of effects in the effects group here, most notably this tonal riser. Like pitching up. Okay, so this is the overview. Who's David Forbes? He's a Scottish trance legend, has released on labels like Armada, Spinnin', Vandit, Subliminal, has been featured by Armin van Buuren, Tiesto, Paul van Dyk, and back in the day his track Answers was one of the biggest tracks. And let's take an overview of the drums first. So we take a look at the drums group starting with the kick. Has this nice tail to it, impact and tail. And this EQ is emphasizing on the high frequencies and making sure it cuts through the mix. Quite the difference here. And then this EQ is getting activated every now and then when we are at the end of our pattern or something. You can see that here. And then we have a low cut. And now you can hear the tail pretty nicely. So this one sits nicely, and then here's another, opportunity for us to put in a low cut whenever needed. So if I'm quickly drawing that in. So a saturator behind that. This is our kick setup here for this track. And then we can actually already quickly skip to the bass group because, this only makes sense together with a rumble. And we're using Serum here to model this rumble and take into account if you see an EQ like this, we are modeling this after a reference track. You would not necessarily build it forward this way, but if you really want to nail the frequency, picture of a reference, sometimes you're using an EQ for sound design purposes. So what is the rumble doing? It's playing 16th notes here on C, and then we are using Serum to pick up on these midis, and we are playing a sine wave, another sine wave, but this one, 7 semitones higher, so it's not super root note harmonic, and a bit of noise in there as well. So if I'm isolating all this stuff on the rumble and we just listen to the bass rumble with EQ and with this trimmed, what's going on here, quickly opening it up so you can see that as well. This is basically utility, and we're taking down gain. If I'm turning this off, and also the ducking, so the sidechain here, which is rolling off all this stuff in the beginning. What's going on? So we have this fat bunch of sounds, and this one an octave lower, this one an octave higher, a bit of noise. If I'm turning this off, we have our noise here running through this envelope, pretty short decay time here. Machine gun style, but now this one comes in and gets affected by this LFO. So we're saying, well, towards the end of, quarter note, we want to bring this down a bit. And then if I'm isolating this one here, basically we just need these standing waves in different areas of the frequency spectrum. And nothing really else matters. And now we're going in and inserting this docking, this sidechain, and we're really removing this entire part here to make room for the kick. And then we are also carving out high frequencies and very low frequencies here below 50, emphasizing on this wave at 90 Hertz. And making it quieter. And we have saturator on the bass group. That's it, about it. And now let's put it back together with the kick. Perfect. That thing bounces. Okay, so on top of that, we have a rolling bass. And again, we are playing 16th notes here, and we're just looping that. And what else is happening? So let's open Serum. ICANN has kick, -2 octaves. Very short decay time here. Envelope 2 with decay time of 131, controlling the filter, MG low 12. And then we have another filter here, MG low 6. Also being applied with envelope 2. So envelope 2, two filters sitting on top of one another. One a bit more heavy, one a bit more slight, and the mod wheel is controlling the filter cutoff as well. So you can mess around with that on your keyboard. Then it's made a bit quieter here, and then we are cutting out something around 130 here, and then we are emphasizing a bit on the higher frequencies, so we really get those pushed through. And then it's also, has a sidechain going on here, and every now and then we put in a low cut when we are at the end of patterns, and this one is just a mixing stage control EQ here, which makes sense in the context with everything else. Now, going back to our drums group, we play the kick together with these two. Great foundation for, psytrance track, Goa track, what have you. This just works. And now we can add in cymbals here on our drums group, like percussion loop. Going together with the kick. Filling out the frequency range. Actually, let's start with the hats first here. Nice pattern. Let's quickly bring it up. You can see the velocity is going up. And we're playing this short closed hi-hat sound here. And we're playing 16th notes together with the kick. And then we have another 2 hat loops that are also playing sort of 16th notes. And what else do we have? We have this open hi-hat here on the 3rd. It doesn't have to be much more complicated than this, and now you're just filling it out with a bunch of noise loops. Also emphasized on the 3rd and the 4th. And another hat loop. This one a bit more on the 3rd. We just need noise and frequency fillers around our main elements that are, 16th hi-hat and offbeat hi-hat. Every now and then a typical trance crash. Every now and then some build-up snares. This is nothing crazy. This is just the usual stuff. And here and there we are putting in these techno claps. And so this one, the second one is a bit more for the mid, darker parts. And then we are playing them here. Okay, listen to it in context. So that's the clap setup here. And what else were we missing from the group? This is the percussion element here. Let's take a look at that quickly. Oh yeah, that's in the build-up. We're using this kind of like a stab sound. So this one is getting mixed into send channel 1 and 7 seconds of decay time. If we're quickly controlling all these send channels, we have an echo set up here, 4x4 ping pong. And we have H delay type elements. So H delay from waves. If you're sort of trying to build that in Ableton, you need to set it up like this with the echo device as well. Low cut on the sound. And we are sending a whole bunch into this delay. We'll see that in a bit. But this percussion element gets sent into the 7 seconds decay reverb. And maybe we can hear that better here. This is always a nice element. You can put that into techno music, into trance music. That will work. And so I think we are through with the, you know, very simple, straightforward drum elements here in the drums group. And I'm closing that quickly. We already had taken a look at the rumble and the rolling bass here. Now we can take a look at this other rolling bass here in the beginning of the track in this intro part. How is this different from that one? Pretty different. So this is more like much more docked and offbeat focused and much less high frequency information here. So we're starting to get you accustomed to the 16th notes pattern here, but we don't want to spill or sort of give away what's going to happen later too early on. So simple saw wave went through a filter, low pass filter here, decay time 348. And then around that we are positioning a bunch of bass stab sounds for sound design variety. So kind of like this horn, this saw horn at the beginning of the pattern. 8 voices, 16 voices, such an envelope shape here. And then releases going down over time. And again, this is sitting on the root note C. We are here in C minor. And another one of those stabs in this position here. Let's take a look at what this one is doing. Nice. What a nice sound. Awesome. It's really important to have this longer release time on the sound. And then we have some decay on the sound as well. We're using the custom decay here in Serum. We're not sending it somewhere. So this Tigra wave form sounds awesome. So we have this, and then we have this one sitting on top. What a cool sound, huh? Like, I really like that one. Okay. And we have another one below that, bass acid here, down here. What's going on here? Yeah, this one is a nice transition element right before a drop. So typical trance setup also as well. 16th 16th notes here, if we're quickly taking a look, taken shorter here, octave on the third note and then back down an octave. This always works with the rolling trance bass line as well, and we're taking out the lows on the sides, and we're taking out some resonant frequencies here, and we're playing I Can Has Kick and Ring. Through multi-band compression. Well, take a look at the settings if you want to copy them, stop the screen. I'm skipping to the next elements here, or let's actually play that together in context. Now, these are the things that make music production fun for me. You have these little pieces that you can then stack together and in these fun parts right before the drops. So, and the other part is being played by this synth sample here from the sample pack part of this trance pack. And together, and that one is being sent through this H delay here, for example. So this synth down here, or actually, like, it's not this one individual, it's like the entire instruments group is being sent through that. So we always have a bit of an echo delay tail here on top of everything. And back to the bass group, we had the stabs covered, stab covered, acid covered, and now we can take a look at this bass growl here. Quickly, what is this one doing? It's another type stab sound. Yeah, it's just a noise brush with a bit of harmonic content below it. So saw wave, sine wave, heavily detuned here, and then we're sending that through dimension expander and through detuning and chorus. And then we're cleaning up low end. And then this one here is again bit trimmed in the loudness, minus, this is always like a utility here, don't worry about that too much. Always a good sound to put into many tracks in trance or also in techno. Okay, and then we go into the break part where we have this sub drop. Basically your space impact sound. What's going on here? LFO is controlling the chorus pitch of oscillator A. If we're taking a look at the matrix, we're just like taking the pitch down, and that's how it's, you know, we are playing this MIDI note, C sharp in this case, and we are bringing down the chorus pitch over time, and some alpha noise is also mixed into it. Noise is running through the filter, so it's not too heavily present, like, don't need that, that's why we're filtering it. Yeah, but there you go, this is the impact here, and we have another Reese impact type thing. Where we are also messing around with the pitch at the end here. We have 8 voices of saw waves here, and then this runs through the filter, MG low 24, and no effects applied, but we have the mod wheel controlling the filter cutoff. And then we also bring the pitch down a bit here with the pitch bend. So in context, okay, and finally we have this other Reese bass here in the build-up. That's a typical Reese bass, just a bunch of saw waves stacked next to one another. And same thing here, an octave higher, and then we're running that through a filter. Bit of glide in it, by the way. So it's set to mono. and we are setting it to portamento and almost 12 o'clock here. That's how the notes are gliding into one another. Don't want to play it together in context right now because this other stuff is quite loud comparatively. And so we're going over to the instruments group now, and here we had this acid element, which was one of our most important elements in the track, which then leads us into the break, into the drop. And so we're playing this MIDI setup. Fantastic sound. If we're taking a look at Serum, saw wave. And then we are sending that through a bandpass 24 decibels per octave filter, which is getting, you know, moved around by this LFO. The envelope, by the way, is pretty short, 138. And let me quickly turn off our effects, like this entire group, and you know, the sidechain gets put back active when the drop hits. Before, we are playing all these first notes here that are sitting on top of kicks, but then when the drop hits, they are getting ducked. So if we listen to it now, we turn off the filter. So if you're ever wondering, it's like, how am I getting this sound? You know, you have a bit of distortion, you have a bit of reverb, but you know, the bandpass filter is important. That's where your acid type sound is coming from, with all this drive and this resonance. You know, if you bring down the resonance. So the acid fun part really comes through the resonance and the bandpass filter that moves around. Okay, and let's bring back our effects here. We're cleaning up low end. And then we are turning on the gain, and then we send it through a tube where we're losing a bit of gain. Output is lower here, and then overdrive higher and overdrive a bit more centered. This one is all the way up. This one just emphasizes 5% at the top here and leaves everything else untouched. Parallel overdrive application. The crispiness comes back here. And we're mixing that with everything else, and now we're applying this one on top of everything. And then we're sending it through an amp with the heavy setting here. Saturator. Cleaning the mids and low. Yeah, and then it's getting ducked. So, key sound in this track, super important to get this one right. And another key sound in this track is this lead here that is playing while we are still in the build-up. And then into the drop or into the break, but it's, you know, it's getting filtered down. So let's quickly take a look at that sound. So we're playing the fifth. If we're going, you know, if we're putting the scale in and we are at C minor, we're playing the fifth, we're playing the fourth, third, and the second, and then again the fourth to the third. And C is our root note here all the time. short decay times here on the sound. And then we're rolling off something that's really not needed here. So this entire belly in the lower mids, not needed, and then we're docking it. So, and then it gets automated over time. We're bringing it in, and then we're bringing it out in the break part. And it then makes room for the third most important part in the track here, which is this saw pluck. And that sounds fantastic as well, coming out of Serum. You know, for trance, Serum really sounds perfect. You can get 16 voices here with the saw wave and one voice in the center with the other saw wave. And then we're running that through a filter where we're cutting lows. And then we're running it through another filter where we are, you know, automating high frequencies. And this is a very typical trance arpeggio pattern where you're moving, sort of you're taking a bigger part of the melodic elements constant. You don't move them around. And the chord changes are just happening through moving the bass note. So bass note moves, bass note moves, bass note moves. This stuff is basically staying the same. You're just adjusting the highest last note here, and that makes it interesting. And then we are moving that one down here around to accommodate whatever chord we are currently playing. We are kind of like C minor in the beginning, and then we're moving to F minor behind that, and then we're moving to followed by A flat major and B flat major. Just opening up the filter more and more. And we're getting a bit more resonance here because in this MG low 12 decibels per octave filter, the resonance is up at 12%. Yeah, and now the sound is getting support by two more layers, which are playing the same notes, but sound different. So here, this one is adding craziness and noise. Same notes, but we are playing a lot of bright white noise here, and we're playing saw around it. And this thing has some coarse pitch action going on here. Set to mono, set to portamento, applied always, and you're getting this pitchy feel to the sound. Kind of unstable, mixed together. Just announcing that a big drop is gonna happen soon, and on top of that, a third sound is also being mixed in. And this is basically the more wet companion to the more dry sound here. And we just want more effect wetness. So we're playing this setup. Again, another MG low 12 filter here that is getting the envelope applied on the cutoff. Bit of noise in there as well, and then we are just, you know, we're stacking that on top of these other two sounds. Versus. And yeah, before we do the lead, let's take a look at the pads. What are the pads doing here? Playing this one? Well, this one, maybe start with a more laid back one. Yeah. So we have this deeper pad sound here. Let's quickly play it. So very trancey, very deep, very typical harmonic setup here. Again, C. What's going on? Let's bring this down quickly. We have C, sus, 4 chord. So first one, 5th, and 4th. But this one was an octave higher up. So the second chord is, we can actually set the scale quickly to C minor. So these annotations are correct. Bring down the velocity here. So in this one we have an F minor chord. Let's quickly bring down. So minor third followed by a major third. It's a minor chord, bring the third up, back up. And then we're following up with A flat major. Major third, minor third. And this one has the same quality. So it's also a major chord and it's B flat major. So that's your trance pad progression here. And what is the sound playing? The sound is playing saw waves, 8, 8, this one an octave lower, and the attack time is long, so it's moving in slowly, and it's also being filtered, and then we have a reverb on top of the sound with 6 seconds of decay time. And this is how we are getting into the break with the root note. You know, building up the tension. And this is the trance moment. Usually a trance track functions in a way where you're playing the root note, the root note, the root note, the root note through the entire intro, bringing it into the break. And because we have this melody that's so stable and the bass notes really bring the progression and bring the emotion, trance is heavily relying on the first time the bass note is being changed. And that is this moment in the track. Here is where this track is opening up. So that's, I don't know, if you want, the science of trance. And so this pad is also being layered with a second pad sound. Just higher up, playing the same notes, bunch of octaves higher. One saw wave here, and then another layer. Bunch more voices, also higher up, 4 voices, 8 voices here. You know, it's just stacking a bunch of pad layers, so it's getting dreamy, and we can open this one up over time. And then this pad sound here is coming in when the synth craziness starts. Quite detuned, high up here for the airy feel. Noise up there, and this one is 16 by 16, so we're really detuning that thing heavily here. The detuning is sitting at 1 o'clock, so then that tells you already, a lot going on. Octave lower for this one. And now we are getting back to this lead here, where we are playing. Adding to the craziness by sort of supporting what our bass notes would be doing with this ICANN has kick table here and no filter applied. So 16th notes octaved And yeah, these are the sounds here in our build-up part, and then we have a bunch. Let's quickly listen to all of them combined quickly so we get an overview. And we also have the snare rolls playing along here. Duff, 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 duff. You know, typical trance snare build-ups. Sound is also part of our sample pack here, and then it's even running through an OTT, so we're really carving out those high frequencies, but we have to because there's so much stuff playing here now. This thing needs to cut through somehow. Maybe sometimes you have to dial back something. And then let's quickly take a look at these acid leads here in the build-up. On the root node with reverb tails, or this also being sent through the echo simply, but extra reverb applied here, so 7 seconds of decay time. Again, bandpass, bringing in the acidness of the sound together with distortion on the sound. Resonance needs to be up. And if you're wondering, hey, what's happening with these send effects, they're actually being, before they go to the master, they're being sent into this sense group and then sidechained to the kick, and then they come into the master. So this stuff is also sidechained slightly, just so you know what's going on there. And then there's another saw synth here. Yeah, it's a detuned bunch of voices of saw waves. You know this sound from many trance tracks. And then lead. This one had to be cleaned up in resonance frequencies here, but this again is sort of acid setup with the acid wave in this case. Also resonance up here. In the third position, offbeat. And then this one is playing every second time here with a bit of a saw wave on top and PWM electro. How do they sound together? Okay, and then we have quickly jump to the effects section here where we have this riser. Getting its filter automated up and getting the pitch bend automated up here. We're looking at the matrix. This is the setup with envelope 1, distortion, wet, and filter cutoff. And a whole bunch of effects. You can stop the screen if you want to copy them. And then pitch bend, most important thing that's happening here. And then we also have this noise transition. A bit of alpha noise being brought in, mixed in. And noise Atmo. We're panning it. So we're panning it around your ears, bit of alpha noise being sidechained and moved around your ears to sort of fill out the frequencies up there as well. Let's play it together with everything else. And play it here. I think we're through all the elements. Let's quickly have a quick look at the arrangement one more time. The thing is arranged kind of like it's almost like two different tracks, to be honest. It starts like a techno track. Or it could still be psytrance here or something like that. And then it goes on into this almost Goa-like thing. It moves a bit more into the psytrance type track. Builds up tension with the risers and with these stable arps, and then we are going into the break where it turns into an uplifting melodic trance track for a minute. Perfect for a state of trance, as mentioned before, and then we are going into the final part here and we are turning it back into this acid techno drop. Very surprising. And then some of the elements go in, and then it stops or goes into the outro like a fast, energetic techno track. Or psytrance or Goa type track. So summing up, we have this powerful kick sound with a bit of a tail to it, and then the bass rumble generated by Serum in this case. Nicely shaped with a lot of noise and a lot of going on in those two, oscillators A and B here. And then we are putting this Goa rolling type bass sound on top. And for our acid drop, now we only need this acid synth here to have enough energy going already. There's your track. And now you just need a bunch of 16s hi-hats and a bunch of off hi-hats and you're basically done. You don't really need a clap here. So that's the track right there if you're looking for this psytrance techno type setup. And then you need a bunch of stabs here and there for the bass stabs, some acid stabs, and you're essentially there. Your sound design is done, and now you can mess around with and experiment a little. Okay, and now for the second type track in here, we have this trance setup where we just need a very clean Serum super saw sound. And that is achieved with the basic saw wave, 16 voices, detuned heavily, and less detuned one voice sitting in the center, and then you're sending that through a proper low pass 12 decibels per octave filter. And this one, the cutoff being controlled with a decay time of 164 here. And I think these are the main takeaways. So I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough here. Feel free to check out the links in the description for this new trance sound pack, including 8 project files like this one. Full-blown sample pack part inside, also full-blown Serum presets inside. All of them come with MIDI, so you have something to get started as well. If you want to take a closer look at how to produce techno from start to finish, I'm linking the techno start to finish course in the description as well. If you're wondering how to arrange your tracks, I'm linking the arrangement course in the description as well. And if you're saying, hey, all of this stuff sounds great, take a look at the Everything Bundle, the best way or the best deal in the store, and also the best way to support our work at Production Music Live, and just an insane amount of value at your fingertips. So thank you for your time and attention. I'll talk to you again soon.
you.